It's dropping less and less.
We do barbecues and that kind of stuff. We'll get back to doing that. But I just kind of want to there's a lot of new folks coming into 3 And then there's a lot of folks that have been here since day one. And so what I'm trying to do with this meeting is basically you're going to get to listen to me talk about how 3 got started, what our goal and plan is for 3 and then kind of our go forward plan from there. Because I think there's a lot of confusion when it comes to what is 3 and what are we supposed to be doing, what's the mission, where did it come from, that kind of thing. So can I get any zone leads that are here? Come on up. All right, so for those of you guys that have been around for a while, you probably all knew Mitch Nerm. Mitch is moving, and that's why I'm taking over the state from Mitch. I'm Mike Morris. I founded 3 I put 3 together years ago, and up until a few weeks ago, my focus was always on the national part of the group, and Mitch handled the state of Colorado. And I started to keep my nose out of what he was doing and let him run the state. He did an amazing job building the state up and getting people together. But Mitch is moving, and we needed somebody that knew the history of 3 and was able to step in and keep things together. So I went ahead and said that I would do that. My plan, though, is that my state leadership is going to be short term. We're going to be looking for somebody else, in fact, a leadership team to take over that state. And I'll go back to focusing on national. And for those of you that don't know, I also head up the Colorado RRT team here. We'll talk some more about that too. First of all, let's start off. This is Brian. Brian is our Zone 3 lead. Zone 3 is most of the metro, Denver, and metro surrounding areas. Brian, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Been with RRT for 4 years, 3 for 5. So I've been here for quite a while. We're looking to kickstart the zone, just like Mike here. I don't plan on staying very long. We are planning on bringing up some leaders in the group to lead this. So if you guys are interested, please grab me at the end of this.
And one reason, I don't want anybody to wonder, well, why is the whole leadership team saying they're not staying very long? Most of the folks here that you see up here and that have taken on these roles quickly all came from the RRT team, or the Rapid Response Team out of Colorado. It's not a wise move to have all of your Rapid Response Team also being your zone leaders, because the Rapid Response Team needs to be able to move throughout the state, plus respond to things in other states. If all of our leadership is also in that core team, we basically are hurting ourselves should we have to move somewhere rapidly. That leaves no leadership in the state. And so the idea is that we're going to find people that are engaged that can come and really focus as that being their one job, to focus on the zone, instead of having 5 or 6 hats in this organization and only being able to dedicate so much time to each of those positions. So that's why you're probably going to hear that from a few other people that say, I've got such and such zone, until we can build up better leadership to take over that zone. So Jerry Carl here has the west slope right now. And the west slope is pretty much one zone now. Soon we'll be breaking it into multiple zones again, like we used to be set up, but with only one part of leadership there. it was easier to just say, okay, one zone while he gets it going, and then we'll break it back into smaller zones that are more manageable. Jerry, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Jared Carl, been here almost since day one, the inception of this group. Watched it grow a lot. I was actually part of another group, long story, boring story, pretty much a shit show. Found Mike's group, was on the page for just a few weeks. He put a call out about building a rapid response team. I said, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. So that's what drove me in here actually, was going down. I got about 180 days over the last 6 years now down the border chasing drug runners. Good shit, man, it's a lot of fun. I wasn't in the service, so I kind of looked at that as my way. I've regretted that probably since my mid-30s that I didn't join branch of the service and serve the country. So kind of looked at that as an opportunity to go down and help the country out a little bit, stop some of the shit that comes across our southern border, and it's completely unbelievable. And there's nothing you'll read in today's day and age that tells you what truly goes on our southern border. So that was a benefit. Some of the search and rescue stuff we've done, just a lot of the social stuff. It's, you guys are all obvious what's going on. And I was glad to see Mike take it back over. Everything got kind of stagnant. Trump got elected. Everyone's like, oh cool, Trump's here, everything's good. Come by y'all, let's sit on fire and make s'mores. It's kind of the opposite. The other side's been hard at work, and we're the enemy of the other side, just so you all know. That's not clear to you. So I was glad. I know Mitch was overwhelmed with a lot of things. His work was hard and took a lot of his time, so I was glad to have him turn it back over to Mike. Kind of lit a fire into my ass. The Western Slope's extremely hard. That's the red part of our state, if there is such a thing left. And again, the complacency over there is so great. They're like, oh, we're over here. All the turds are on the other side of the mountain. We don't have anything to worry about. It's really hard to get people off their ass and get involved. So all I can say is just spread the word, tell friends and neighbors that think like we do. And we need to grow this group as much as we possibly can. It's all done by you guys, strictly by you guys. That's all I ask.
This is Dan. He's been around for a long time. Dan has our Zone 4. Zone 4 is, when I took over, I changed the map. I know a lot of y'all saw that. The reason we did that is, again, we had the right leaders in the right places, and we had places that we had no leadership, and we didn't really know the patriots that may be in that place to be able to reach out and say, hey, do you want to take over a zone? It's one of the things that we're trying to stop from happening is the revolving door of, okay, you be the leader, and then 2 weeks later they quit, and then I got to find somebody else. So we want to set up a good way of doing this so that when these guys are ready to turn their zones over, we're turning over a zone that's working and not something that we're still experimenting with. So Dan has ended up with quite a bit of land to cover because you go all the way down to the border.
Pretty much.
So I'll let Dan introduce himself.
You pretty much said it all, so.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
No, I'm not a member of our team. I'm more the backside logistical part. Getting stuff organized, trying to get some zone shoots set up, that kind of stuff. Been with the organization for 3.5 years. Seen some good people go, some good people come in, so that's pretty much it.
All right, good speech, Dan. All right. So we got Tim here. Tim has Zone 2, Wild Zone 2. So Zone 2 is like Weld County, Larimer, Boulder County, and it stretches down and grabs some of the northern part of, I guess, what you might consider Denver Metro. Tim, I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
I'm Tim Morgan. Been doing this right at 3 years now. Got involved with y'all by cooking for everybody at the state shoot. Then it became a regular thing, but then as each state shoot happened, I started seeing something happen, the attendance, morale, you know, pissing and moaning under the undertones of why is everyone not here? Well, you know, each one of us make that difference. And so instead of complaining about it, I just try to keep the dream alive. And some of y'all see I post pretty ridiculous stuff all the time, but it's ridiculous stuff that's in our society. And I've had to be talked to several times how to use those pages early on. But you know, I was starting to try and put together at least our zone to come shoot again in our spots. There's several that the RRT uses. I've been fortunate enough to be able to be with the guys. I don't consider myself one of them, but if I was called to say, hey, we need you, I'll jump. And that's the main thing, is just remembering that history. That's what I want to bring back. The Declaration of Independence, what happened, what we're going through now, it's all the same thing. Doesn't matter what side of the fence you sit on, left or right, they're all fucking.
Yes. Yes.
So, I think everyone has it inside themselves to be a natural born leader. I like what Mike said, we're all not permanent. Something could happen to me tomorrow. Andrew, behind there, is my next, and then the other two ladies next to him. I've already made sure that y'all are set. If something happens to me, it's not the revolving door, like you said. We just want to make sure that this is set and back in stone, and that we're taking it to our communities. A lot more community involvement is what I'm looking to start doing again. I shared it last meet and greet. I try to help feed the homeless when I'm off. My men's group does on Tuesday, downtown Loveland. Just stuff like that. So when I'm there, I'm not wearing nothing 3-up, nothing 3%. When I'm there, I'm actually just sharing, you know. And then, hey, well, who are you shooting with? You know, and I've been able to pull 4 or 5 guys at different times to come and go shoot with me. And then all of a sudden, they want to be a part of this. That's natural. This is God-given. It's freedom. And that's what we want, is to gain our liberties. We're watching them slip day after day for over the last, at least since 9/11, I've watched it start happening. That chink in that armor becomes a big hole, and then what's protecting you then? Nothing. So I really appreciate everybody that came out here. This is one of the biggest meet and greets in my little short time here that I've seen so far, man. God bless y'all.
So let's start with that. I think give everybody themselves a round of applause. So, look around, guys. We've heard this now from a few folks. This is like one of the largest meet and greets some people have seen. I'm glad everybody's here, but we can do a lot better. And for those of you that have been around for a while, you know we can do better. We've had meet and greet, we've had state shoots with upwards of 300 people in attendance. And that's what I'm driving to put Colorado back into. So let's talk about a little bit about the history of 3-up. To understand the history of 3-up, I got to tell you a little bit of my history. It's my favorite thing is telling stories. People are already joking around about having to listen to my stories, so maybe it's new for some of y'all. I've been involved in the Patriot/militia movement for nearly 30 years. I got involved in Colorado's militia in my teens, and then I headed off to the Marine Corps. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I met up with a group of guys that were meeting out of a shop up in Boulder, Paladin Arms. I don't know how many of y'all remember Paladin Arms up there. But an organization came out of there called the Tyranny Response Team, or the TRT. And you still see those shirts floating around today. Alex Jones sells them. That's a sore spot for me. That's not a... We gave Alex Jones we were at a UN protest in New York in 1999, and we gave Alex Jones one of our shirts, and about 3 months later it was for sale on his site. It's still one of his biggest selling shirts. And then he put on the sleeve the original Tyranny Response. The original Tyranny Response Team started here in Colorado. So, how many people have read any of the documents on the 3-up page? Like we have our mission statement, those kind of things. So, I wrote most of those things, but I stole a lot of it, right? And a lot of that came from the Tyranny Response Team back in the 90s and reworded it for today. And a lot of those guys are still around. A lot of the leadership, unfortunately, is dead. But that organization, this is before internet. I mean, well, internet was there, but it was before social media, I should say. The Tyranny Response Team actually grew into an international organization, which was interesting because it stood it was really a Bill of Rights organization. It focused really on the, the first 10 the first 10 amendments, but there was chapters that sprouted up in Germany and Ireland. Some of them are still active, which I always found amazing. And it was interesting to see that we could put hundreds of people on the street at any given moment. And Tyranny Response Team never did militia training. It wasn't a militia. It was more of a protest group. And at the time that it got really, that you saw a lot of momentum there was right after Columbine High School. And then we had this big push in Colorado for gun laws. And that's really where that was born. So after Tyranny Response Team, I was involved with some of the Colorado militia groups and some of the other militia groups around the country, Michigan militia, that kind of thing. And then I got involved with 3%ers. And I actually met and spoke with Mike Vandenberg, who really coined the term 3%. And that organization, when people talk about we're the original 3%ers, nobody's the original 3%er because it dates back to this mine and what they call the Sipsey Street Irregulars. And the Sipsey Street Irregulars really came around after when Clinton was running for president, and it goes back that far. And they really were there to disrupt the Democratic Party, is really how a lot of what they did. And then that morphed more into being a rights-based group. But the whole term 3% came out of 60th Street Irregulars because that's where people started talking about it takes 3% of the population of a country to enact change. And that's where that came from. So we've seen numerous 3% groups pop up across the country. 3UP, what we all are part of here, is still the largest 3% group in the nation right now. And Colorado has always been kind of the leading state in that organization. Things that happen here are oftentimes then recreated in other states. So, we started an RRT group here, a rapid response team here, which was supposed to be the more militia-minded portion of 3UP. And a group that trained a lot more, had more requirements. So 3UP has always been open to any patriot that wants to join, right? There's no list of patriotic things, check marks that you have to have to join this organization. We don't take dues, nobody should have to pay to be a patriot. It's a complete voluntary organization. And by being that, 3UP can be many things to many different people. So we'll talk about that too in a minute. But things that happen here in Colorado, like I was saying, oftentimes are basically tested here and then run out throughout the whole country. So now we have many states that have RRT teams. In a bunch of those states, the Colorado RRT is actually packed up and traveled to these other states to provide and do the training out there to some of these organizations. We've also, it was Colorado RRT that started putting the border operations together. Let's just do a show of hands. Who here in this group has been down to the border with us? Quite a few people just out of this organization here that have been down and worked that border. We always saw that as the best live, real training that we could get. I mean, there's nothing like it if you haven't been down there. It's crazy. But then we started looking at 3UP, and we said, there's a place for everybody. Old, young, women, men, everybody can find something to do in that patriot community. And then, so now we get back to what is 3UP and what isn't 3UP. So first, let's talk about what we aren't, because there seems to be a lot of confusion on that. And I see it all the time on the Facebook pages. But one thing is, 3UP is not a Facebook group. Facebook is merely a tool that we use to help throw out some messages, and it's a great recruiting tool. But I see it all the time on Facebook where people say, well, what's the plan? I haven't heard a plan, this group sucks. You're never gonna see me come out on Facebook and say, okay, guys, here's the whole plan on what we're gonna do. We're gonna meet over here, we're gonna stockpile this stuff, and here's our radio, here's our frequencies we're gonna use, and by the way, watch out for so-and-so. I'm not, it's social media, guys. So you see these posts like that, then you've got the guy that comes in and says, well, you can't talk about that on Facebook. We all need to go join MeWe. Well, going from one social media platform to another does not solve your problem either. Then there's folks that say, well, let's get on Zello. If everybody just got on Zello, we'd be perfectly fine. Let me tell you something. Every Patriot organization that I've seen taken down in the last 3 years were all taken down based on Telegram, Zello, and Facebook. And all of it's public information. So when you look at like the guys at Mahler, the entire Mahler plan, the FBI knew about well before it ever happened. Why? Because these guys had Zello meetings. They had a Zello meeting every weekend. They scheduled it every Sunday at 2 p.m. And you can actually go online, you can download it, it's public information. It's about 3,200 pages. And it's the transcripts of every Zello meeting they ever had. Why? Because Zello stores everything. You can delete it off your phone, but it's still stored in the Zello servers. And Zello, if you have a red, they don't require the feds to have a warrant. They will gladly turn your information over simply on a request. So that's one reason we don't use Zello. Zello can be great for organizing, say, a rally. If y'all need to be on Zello, and you're not talking about anything important or anything that you don't care if it gets spread all over the news about what you're talking about. But you gotta be careful. Then I see all the people that say, well, Telegram. Telegram is the only thing out there that the NSA has not cracked. Folks, the NSA's cracked Telegram a long time ago. It's an algorithm, it's easy for them to do. But they don't have to crack it. Why? Because they have the same agreement that Zello does. They will turn over the transcripts of anything done on request. No warrant needed. And so, this is one reason I see frustration. That's why I wanted to talk about it. I see a frustration across the Patriot Nation because everybody says, we should be doing it this way. Why aren't we doing it? And then you have some people that come in and say, well, we can't do it because of this. And then that person says, well, you guys are all idiots, I'm out of here. We are too good at eating our own in the Patriot community. We're not very good at being receptive to other people's ideas. We're not very good at having a discussion because all of us have in our mind what we all believe our freedom and our democracy means to us. And this is something that makes it hard across all conservative platforms. People say, well, you know, how come when the left has a rally or a riot or whatever you call them nowadays, are they able to get so many people out there and all on the same page? Because the left is very good at not mixing their politics. When the left goes out to do an anti-gun march, you don't have half the crowd out there doing a pro-abortion march at the same time. They focus their messaging. Patriots, we're horrible at that. We go to any Patriot event, we could be doing a pro-gun march, but half the people there are actually working for something else. And then you get the media that goes in there and starts talking to people, and they say, well, nobody here seems to know what they're doing, or what they stand for, or what they're here for. We're not going to solve that today, standing here with me flat on my gums. But I just want people to understand that the leadership sees and does understand this. Right? Because we get a lot of messages from people like, well, did you see what Joe Blow just posted? Why is he allowed in this group? And then, well, if you haven't kicked him out, then why? Folks, I try not to kick a lot of people out because I try and look at everybody as being able to have their own opinion. We need to be better as a Patriot community about allowing that. Now, there does become a red line. So, again, talking about what we aren't. 3 up and 3% is not an anti-government group. It might be surprising to some people. We're an anti-tyranny group. We're not anarchists. 3%, the 3% movement is not about tearing the entire government down and doing away with it. It's about upholding and holding precious the Constitution and what was given to us by the Founding Fathers, and trying to return our society back to what we believe the true intent of the Constitution and Bill of Rights are. But it's not about all-out anarchy. And there is a lot of confusion of that in the Patriot movement. In the Patriot movement in general, because you've got all of these offshoots inside the Patriot movement of people that have made, have made those stances and have made those statements. I seen people the other day that were calling for people to join the National. Patriots should join the National Anarchist Party. The two things don't coincide. 3% and what 3% has always stood for does not coincide with the National Anarchist Party. This is the National Anarchist Party doesn't stand for the Constitution. It stands for abolishing all government. That's not what 3% stands for. We're also not the Trump backing organization. We're not a Republican backing organization, and we're not a Democrat backing organization. We're not a political organization. We stand against tyranny and stand for the Constitution. You don't have to be a Trump backer to do that. You don't have to be a libertarian to do that. If your mindset is one of protecting the Constitution and standing with your other patriots, I don't care what political party you support. We're also not the police backup force. And this seems to be some confusion in this too. We're not an anti-police organization, but we're also not a pro-police organization. We can support officers to support their dedication to the Constitution as well. And there's plenty of those officers out there. There's plenty of officers that don't. And I think that we as individuals and we as patriots, we have that right to make those decisions ourselves. And this is one reason when I saw a lot of people out across Facebook say, well, why aren't we down there? Why isn't 3M down there? One of the things the leadership team talked about is, what would we do there? What would we do going to Denver? And
Do a guard the veterans role. That's what I got a group doing right now.
yep, that would be a good thing. More so what we talked about is, go down there. I didn't feel that 3M needed to go down there to stand with the police necessarily. Plus, they don't want us there. They were very clear about that. But I also didn't think that 3M needed to go down and stand with BLM and with Antifa. And if we took an organized group down there, how would that message be used against us? Now, if we had a legitimate place that we needed to go, like the War Memorial or something like that, that's something else. Now, the organization has been asked by some businesses to come out and lend a hand, which we did. But our duty is to the citizens, and our duty is to making sure that people's rights, people are still able to exercise their rights. And I didn't think that we could do that very well. Well, one, with as organized as we were, or lack of organization is a better term, when all of this started. And I couldn't see a clear message to try and send people down there. So let's talk about what we are, right? We stand here, what I see for 3M is we're a community organization. We're here to help build and support our communities. We're here to help better our fellow citizens and help protect them from tyranny, to call it out when we see it, to help stand for the little guy who needs a voice. Help stand with citizen business owners that need help. Help stand. We have stood with people who I didn't necessarily agree with their lifestyle choices. But a few years back, everybody remembers the Pulse nightclub shooting, right? Florida. And the very next week in Denver was Denver's Gay Pride Week. And believe it or not, the organizers of Pride Fest had reached out to 3M and asked for help. Now, my own personal first thought was, that's really not my scene. I'm not, I just, it's not my thing. The more we thought about it is, well, they are citizens just trying to do their thing. And we didn't want to see anybody shot up. There was legitimate threats to those folks. So we did go down as an organized group because we were asked to. And that's one thing that, that we look at is, where are we asked to be and what are we asked to do? We're not an intimidation force. That's, you know, we don't just go places to try and intimidate people into doing the things that we want them to do. But we have been down for rallies, pat myself on the back, but I do believe that that one rally ended Antifa's ability to recruit and work in Denver. In fact, for people that track Antifa sites, after that rally happened, Antifa leadership in Colorado actually announced that Colorado is a lost cause, and there's too many patriots out there and they would never be able to get a foothold. And that's where we saw the shift down to Colorado Springs. Because through that whole summer, and it was like 2 years ago, everywhere Antifa went, 3 up there. And we didn't pussyfoot around with them. We marched right through the middle of them, split them up, and then we had Baca out there, and those guys really took care of Antifa out in the park. It was an interesting sight to see. But again, it's not that we want to sit around and play on computers all day, and play around on Facebook, but we need to make sure that we're taking the right stand and in the right place and the right time. And we also need to work towards organization. And that's what I'm trying to do now, is get the zones organized, get the participation back up in the state. So if there is a time that we say we need to go out here, it's not 4 guys showing up, it's 400 guys showing up. And if you want to be able to enact change as patriots, that's what we have to do. We don't need 2 people standing there saying, hey, we're the patriot movement. I thought you had a question. He's talking to his dog. And people say, well, you know, you're never going to see that. We did. We saw that here in Colorado already. We used to see it all the time, the 3 up. We would name a location and a place, and you could pretty much guarantee 150, 200 plus people were going to be there. But a lot of that, again, is all up to us. It's up to us to get organized. It's up to us to work together. It's up to us not to battle each other constantly on Facebook because we didn't like one part of somebody's post and things like that. I mean, not everybody in this group is going to think the same way about everything all the time, and that's okay. There's nothing in the 3 up rules that say, if you don't think exactly like I do, you can't be part of this. But what we need to at least come to some kind of agreement on is that we are all here as patriots, and we all basically hold our beliefs in that Constitution, and especially in the Bill of Rights, and getting back to that. The other things are just small shit that we're distracting ourselves with. I don't want to make too big of a deal out of it, but I would just want to throw this out as far as Facebook goes. You don't need to report posts to us. When people start reporting posts in the group, even though it says reporting to an admin, all those reports still go back to Facebook. And the more we get, the more likely we are to have everything shut down. And I only bring this up because we probably get 20 a day. And that's 20 patriots on the page a day that read something that they didn't like, so they reported it. 99% of the time I go look at it, I may not agree with it, but I don't see where it created this huge issue. I recommend that you guys try talking to each other. You see it all the time. People say, people don't talk to each other anymore. They just want to tell on each other and they want somebody else to fix the problem. We're all adults, we're all patriots. Talk to each other.
Yes.
All right? The next thing that we're going to be working on as a state, once we can get these zones established and the zone leaders can start getting their momentum going, is then start going back in and building with smaller teams where you guys really start gelling together into those smaller groups. We have the state shoot coming up on the 20th. How many people are planning on going? So we'll have a good group of people out there. Again, that's open to everybody. That's a family event, guys. And pretty much anything that you see like this from 3 Up is going to be a family event. Kids are welcome, dogs are welcome. I guess wives are welcome. I'm really glad to see everybody out here. I'm going to try and stop sucking up all the oxygen in the room. RRT, I know everybody says RRT's back. RRT never went away. RRT's still here. Folks that are interested in that, make sure you reach out to one of the RRT guys, talk to them, get some information as to what it really is like, because it is definitely not for everybody. It's a pretty big commitment to get into that team. And again, it's not cut out for everybody, but if you want information, talk. RRT guys, show of hands so people know who you can talk to here and they can answer questions and that kind of thing. So, did anybody else have anything?
Hey, I'm new. This is my first meeting. My name is Nicholas Carey. I live out in Bailey. I'm a grunt. I was in the Army for 8 years. When this protest stuff started happening, I put an op order together, an operation, and I got veterans down guarding the Veterans Memorial, the Colorado Fallen Veterans Memorial also. I'm looking for volunteers. If you guys want to come down there and help us, we're in full kit, no weapons, no magazines, no weapons out. We have first aid shit. We basically made the memorial a trauma center, just in case shit happens. If you guys are interested, just come ask me, and I'll give you guys a link and everything and tell you where to meet up.
So I'm Melissa. It's my first time here also. I'm in Zone 2. We have a sign-in sheet. So if everybody could sign it from Zone 2.
Did everybody hear that?
Yeah.
What's it for?
It's just it's a sign-in roll call.
They're checking you.
It's a list.
Alphabet roll call, man.
We will be
Right.
sending it to the government later.
That's right. Names, numbers, social. That's right. Current address, last 10 years, tax
There's a
returns.
spot for a blood sample.
That's right.
COVID's optional.
That's right.
I don't know,
Yours is
so it's
here.
starting to sound like there's a lot of new people here, and there's something else, Mike told you who we are, what we do, what we don't do, but as zone leaders, it's a little more intricate than that, because like Mike said, once we start getting the people to show up in our zones, then it's not just we're all together and we're like, yeah, we're a group. We actually do shit. And as a zone leader, you try and find people and put on different events, whether it's teaching people how to build a bug-out bag, or it might be a firearms training day, or search and rescue work, or it might be fall, and winter might be coming, so they might do a winter survival course. First aid is huge. I mean, there's a zillion things you can learn in just field craft and first aid that is going to save your ass. And that's part of us supporting the Constitution and supporting each other, is teaching each other. We got a welder in the group. Shit. As a zone leader, I'm always, hey, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to do? And it's like freaking crickets. I mean, give us some feedback. There's nothing out there that you're going to say that you want to learn something on that's going to sound stupid. It's all important. Canning. Having a canning class for your zone and teaching people how to preserve food and stuff like that. So that's also what we're about. It's not just you get together, meet and greets, we get together at state shoots and go shoot. There's a lot more to it. As zone leaders, we're supposed to be doing that for you guys, which in turn hopefully grows our group. We're all self-supported. Shit hits the fan, I want to know that I can count on some of you guys to come save my cattle out here in my field, and I'll come down and help you, whatever. Feed your family or whatever.
Good.
Yeah, so I was just following up with the question. You talked a lot in the meeting last week about the classes, about interviews and stuff like that. Is that going to be more zone related, kind of on a smaller zone scale, or is it going to be statewide classes, workshops, or as well?
There's gonna be both. So the majority of your involvement really should be at your zone level, but then we will have state events, like the state shoot that we're having. Now, this state shoot on the 20th is purely just a state shoot. For those who've been around for a while, we used to, and we will be again, having multiple type things going on in a shoot, where we may have the shoot going with a medical class and a comms class, and those kind of things too, because we need to be well-rounded and prepared. Not just people that can pull a trigger. We need medics, we need people that understand communications, we need logistics. There's all kinds of roles that need to be filled, and those classes and that training to be provided to everybody once we're up and running a little bit better. How many people attended a national FTX? Okay, so those of you that haven't or don't even maybe know, the first national FTX ever was put on here in Colorado. And then we did it multiple years in a row. Sandra over here is key in getting those things organized. I'd like to get back to doing that. When we had a national FTX, there were about 400 people, 400 patriots out for a 3-day weekend from all across the nation. And last year I went to the national FTX in Missouri, and there was 18 or 19 states represented there. And we can do that back here again. Last year we didn't have one. And the year before, 2 days before, 2 or 3 days before it was supposed to happen, the location burned down. And they literally dug the fire break right through the middle of the campsite that we were supposed to have. So the more involvement we get, the quicker we can get the zones together, the better the classes, the better the training, because we have the people that we need to put on. There's nothing worse than having people put a lot of time into like putting together, say, a medical class, and one person shows up. And that person spends 30, 40 hours putting the class together. And you get 80 people say they're coming and one person shows up. We never had that problem before in Colorado, but over the last year, those are the kind of things we've seen, where we put out events, we get 1 or 2 people. And I think a lot of people, complacency hit. They thought Trump was here and everything was going to be okay. And now we have COVID and we have riots going on. When COVID hit, all of a sudden we get down to like 500 requests to join the page. Then the riots happen and they can bump that up to 1,000. And that's what happened. That's what's happening in every state. And we see it all the time. Every time there's some kind of panic or event, all of a sudden everybody wants to rush out and join a patriot organization. Then when things calm down, they walk away. And then things happen, they run right back. And then they say, why is nobody doing anything? You've got to get involved if you want to know what's going on. You're not going to get that involvement on Facebook. Again, don't ever expect that you're going to log into Facebook and you're going to see me laying out every plan we've ever had and every frequency that we use and where we meet up and where is this happening. This is not going to happen. If you want that information, you're going to get that at zone events, at zone meetings, and at state events, and at state meetings, and at trainings. And then once you keep coming and coming, then you start meeting people, and then we're going to break into smaller, more localized groups. And then that's where the real planning comes in. Because now you've got a group of people that maybe all live within 10 minutes of you. And now you can have some very coordinated plans, frequencies, and medical planning, and that kind of thing. That is all loosely organized under one roof. So that's kind of the ultimate goal. So I think I've talked enough. Yep.
Hey, first time here as well. My name's Trey, and